Welcome to my channel. This is an indication of some of the things that I cover on a regular basis in my videos. If you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to do so, and don't forget to click the little bell so that you'll get notified of future videos. Please feel free to share my videos on your social media, and I hope you enjoy the video which follows. Well, hello everybody. I have been working on trying to get a no-knead version of my sourdough bread. I really liked making the no-knead version of bread with conventional yeast. Did it for a number of years, and I'd like to see if I can't perfect it with sourdough. So I think this particular method is working. Stay tuned and we'll find out, I guess. Actually, if this didn't work, you wouldn't be watching the video. Not that I don't like to admit that I make mistakes, but I wouldn't make anybody watch a half-hour video or so, or something that failed in the end. So that was 100 grams of a ripe sourdough starter. I fed it about 6 hours ago, and it's a very active starter now. 100 grams, which is what, 3.5 ounces, and it was almost half a cup if you're using cup measures. And to that I'm going to add the water. Bells ringing here, and that was 1 5/8 cups of tepid water, or 420 grams, or 15 ounces. I'm just going to break up the sourdough starter and dissolve it as much as possible in the water, just to get the wild yeast well distributed in the water before I add the flour. Won't have to work the flour to get it through the flour. And since it's a no-knead bread, you don't work the flour anyway. I think that's good enough. And I'm using a bread flour, a white bread flour. I've made my no-knead breads with various kinds of flours, all-purpose or multi-grain. But this time I'm going to use a white bread flour. That's 500 grams of white bread flour, which is 3.5 cups, or 18 ounces. And to that, a teaspoon and a quarter of salt, and I'm using a sea salt, but you can use any salt, it doesn't really matter. Teaspoon and a quarter of salt. And now it just gets mixed together. Not kneaded, but well combined, I guess. Work all of that flour into it before I let it rest. That seems to be pretty much combined. It's a nice soft dough at this point anyway. And now it gets covered. If you were using a plastic wrap, you could cover it with plastic wrap. Sorry about that. I had to find my cover. This Pyrex bowl comes with this very nice cover, which is excellent. Keeps out the air so it doesn't dry out. Now this just gets set aside at room temperature overnight. At least 12 hours. You can go for up to 18 hours. So I will come back in the morning with phase 2 and we get this ready to go in the oven. Well, good morning everybody. It's about 13 hours after I set the dough to do its first rising. Now I'm going to get it ready to put it in. I'm going to use the Banneton proofing basket again to do mine. But if you don't have one, you can just as easily use a bowl and a piece of parchment paper. Martha Stewart trick. If you ball the parchment paper up, it'll be easier to fit into a bowl or any other container, I guess. And all you would do, I'm not going to put any dough in this, but all you would do is, once I have the dough shaped into a loaf, a round loaf shape, I would just put it in there. And that's it as far as touching the dough again. I would let it proof for the second proving in there, and then just lift it out with the parchment paper and put it in your Dutch oven. When I use the Banatone basket here, basically the same thing, although I will invert it onto a piece of parchment paper and then lift it into the Dutch oven. So this dough is a little bit, probably quite a bit, wetter than the regular sourdough that I did in this one other time, so I'm going to generously flour it. And it's alright that it's coming out onto the board, because I'm going to need some on the board anyway to make the loaf shaped. I'll hope that is floured well enough. Time will tell. As I said, it's been about 13 hours, and as you can see, the dough did rise quite nicely. I think it's got a good sourdough culture in there. You can see some of the structure, the holes down in there that's coming out of the bowl. Except the dough scraper, I guess. Just getting enough flour on it that I can work with it without it being too terribly sticky. Try to get some surface tension. Lovely big bubbles in there. It's a very soft dough, though. Okay. I'm going to put it in the basket with this side up and the smooth side down, because it will be inverted when it comes out. And hope for the best. I'm going to flour the top of it and around the sides of the basket. And that will just be covered with a tea towel, and we'll let it rise for another 2 hours. Bring you back in 2 hours' time. At the 1.5-hour point, I would start preheating the oven, 450 degrees, with the Dutch oven in there being preheated along with the oven itself. So that way it's all ready to go at the 2-hour point. Well, the oven is preheated, and this has had its 2 hours to do a bit of rising up, and it has done that somewhat. And now, using the same piece of parchment paper that I crumpled up in that demonstration a little bit ago there, waste not, want not, I guess. Doesn't have to be crumpled for this particular use of it, but won't hurt it any that it is. And boom. Well, that's not too bad. It's stuck a little bit, but I'm pleased with that. I'm going to attempt to slash it. This is a very soft dough. I'm not so sure that it will slash very well, but we'll give it a try here. I think I'll just do a simple cross if I can get it in there. Yeah, not so bad. Spoke too soon. That will do. Now we'll get it in the Dutch oven. Get it covered and in the oven. 30 minutes with the cover on, and then 10 to 15 minutes with the cover off. The purpose of the cover off is to brown the top of the loaf. So I say 10 to 15 minutes. You do it as long as you want it for how brown you want to see it, but I'll show you when it comes out of the oven. There is the finished product. I went a full 15 minutes with the cover off. It was quite pale when I first took the cover off, but I think I'm quite satisfied with that. When it really cools down, I'm going to cut it in half and show you what the interior looks like. But now for a little infomercial. If you watched my video where I gave away 50 of these little sachets of my dehydrated sourdough culture, and I also included instructions as to how to rehydrate it and whatever. When I limited it to 50, I thought, well, I better do that because postage is quite expensive, and but never thinking that it would go up to 50 of the things. Well, within 20 hours it passed the 50 point. So I started listing it on eBay, and I've sold several on eBay. If you're interested, I will put a link below this video to the eBay selling of these things if you'd like to have sourdough culture and you don't have your own. I'm also working right now on a short video that will probably come out before this one that shows rehydrating and reconstituting one of these little sachets, so that might also be useful. I was surprised, like I said, that 50 of them went so fast. A great number of them went to the US, quite a few went to Canada, and besides that they went to Bermuda, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and one other place that I can't recall, Australia. Went to the international ones. So I will sell these and send them anywhere. The shipping price differs according to where it's going, but it's not that much no matter where it's going. So have a look below the video if that interests you, and we'll come back in just a few minutes and show you what this looks like in the inside once I get it cut open. I guess what I didn't say is I'll also put the written version of this recipe or method or whatever you want to call it down below the video. This is still a bit on the warm side, but I think it's cooled enough that I can cut it in half. Yeah, that's much better. I never get this kind of interior structure when I'm using multigrain. I think it's just too heavy a flour for the delicate sourdough yeast, but I do seem to get it quite nicely when I'm using a bread flour, a white bread flour. And the smell, both cooking and now, is delicious. I'm going to cut a little piece off here and give this a try. Really, it's too warm. I shouldn't have cut it yet, but I didn't want to wait any longer. Delicious. I also always think that the sourdough flavor is more pronounced in a white loaf than it is in the multigrain or whole wheat. Whether that's true or not, or just my opinion. Has a nice soft crumb interior and a nice crispy crust. So I'll get this uploaded on YouTube, and if you're making sourdough bread, you can now give it a try. See what you think of the no-knead method. Thank you very much for watching.